Nice. Yeah, because key, that's apparently a good idea.
Yes. And then I just never went back and changed it.
Yeah, wow. How weird. How weird.
Well, testing 1 2 1 2. Okay, let's start again.
Let's try this again.
And welcome in. There's my waveforms. There's my beautiful people. There's my good ears. Thank you for listening to the Media Boat Podcast, your one-stop organic source for movies, TV, music, and video games. Not necessarily in that order. My name's Mike. His name is Matt.
My name is Matt. His name is Mike. Today is February the 26th, 2022. This is episode 320. And boy, we have a lot to talk about today.
Yep. But first off, welcome to the end of February.
Yeah.
And the last day of being healthy, because you know what happens next week.
What happens next week?
Oh, we into March, and you start getting a little fever, a little March madness.
Oh, well, we haven't gone there quite yet, but we will get there.
We will get
mad in March.
Yes, we'll get mad in March. Brackets will be busted. We'll talk about that in sports. But first, we start with music.
Yeah, let's talk about some music.
And we always start the music with the Billboard, and we start the Billboard with the Hot 100. And once again, we don't talk about Bruno. Number one song. Congratulations, Lin-Manuel Miranda. Still going. Your non-Oscar nominated song is your number one hit.
Yeah.
Coming in at number 2, Heat Waves by Glass Animals.
Yeah, rising up the charts.
Leapfrogged.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff, including number 3, Easy on Me by Adele. Coming in at number 4, A, B, C, D, E, F, U by Gayle.
Yes, TikTok hit has been hovering around the top 5 for a while, finally broke through. If you've seen TikTok videos, you probably will recognize this song.
I have not, so I don't.
It's like number A, B, C, D, F, U, and your mom, and your sister, and your et cetera, et cetera. You get it.
People are dancing to this song?
Yeah. Yes?
Yes?
Sort of. I don't know.
Okay, sure.
Have a Zoomer explain this to you. I don't know.
I'll ask my class. And coming in at number 5, Stay by the Kid Laroi and Justin Bieber, staying in the top 5. Mm-hmm. As for your albums chart, your Billboard 200, once again at number 1, Encanto by various artists.
Yeah.
Coming in at number 2, DS Forever by Gunna.
What's he going to do?
He's going to be above number 3, Dangerous, the double album by Morgan Wallen.
Blah, blah.
But coming in at number 4, back in the top 5?
Yeah.
Certified Lover Boy by Drake.
Don't know why this had a rebound.
Did he have ticket sales go out?
I don't think he's touring. I don't know, actually.
That would be the only thing I can think of. But then again...
Yeah, weirder.
He's
number 5.
He's number 5. From The Weeknd, not Dawn FM, but the hits.
The highlights. It's
yes.
Weird. Yeah, I don't know what's happening in the top 5 this week. But yeah, Dawn FM completely removed off the top 5. The highlights is back and Certified Lover Boy is back. I don't know. None of it makes sense anymore. None of this makes sense anymore.
I mean, nope.
No idea.
Nope. Yeah,
don't ask us.
You have a weird song, a new song, not weird. It's not that weird. Weird for me, not for you. A new song in the Hot 100 and 2 older albums cracking the Billboard 200.
It's weird time for the charts.
Yep. Speaking of weird times, we are living in some weird times as we get into new releases.
I was going to say, you were going to skip ahead there.
I was going to skip ahead. But if you didn't like any of those albums, we have new releases.
Yeah.
Including Things Are Great by Band of Horses.
Does anybody want to maybe tell Band of Horses what's been happening the last week or so?
I think it's one of those ironic album names.
Yeah, maybe because they need to know about.
I like Band of Horses.
Events. Yeah, maybe.
Yes. We also have Crystal Nuns Cathedral.
Sure.
By Guided by Voices.
I swear, there's a new Guided by Voices record every 6 months now. Like they're just so prolific.
If you put enough out there, one of them has to stick.
Yeah. Probably still fans from the 90s who are excited about that.
And lastly, How Is It That I Should Look at the Stars by The weather station.
I mean, if I was working at a weather station, I probably would be looking at the stars.
If I was a meteorologist in a band,
right,
I would get other meteorologists to be in said band and call our name the weather station.
I don't think that the members of the weather station are meteorologists, though.
I don't know, but how else would you title an album? How is it that I should look at the stars if you're not a meteorologist?
Maybe it's metaphorical. Maybe it's like looking at the stars, like considering our existence.
I guess it's the difference between a meteorologist and an astrologist.
That's different.
They're two different things.
All right. But anyways, now we can move on to the news.
I don't want to, but we have to.
So yeah, we're going to have to talk about this at some point this week. This is the way we're going to talk about it.
All right. So there's a lot of stuff happening in the world right now.
Yes. If you've been paying attention to the news at all, you will know that last week, Russia sent troops into Ukraine, and there has been a war happening in there since then. They claim that it's to demilitarize the Ukrainians. It's probably the rest of the world sees it as a attempt to take over the region. People knew that this was likely to happen as Russia had troops around the border of Ukraine for a while now. And pretty much all the NATO Western countries were like, yeah, this is going to happen. And even the Ukrainians themselves, the Ukrainian president said, nah, they wouldn't do it. And then here we are. So, our hearts go out to the Ukrainian people. Hopefully other countries will take in refugees as they try to flee. All power to the Ukrainians that are trying to defend their land and the capital as the Russians completely out of like any political right, any human right to invade are doing it anyways. And it just sucks. And we kind of just have to stand by and watch as there's not much we can do.
It can best be summed up in a quote that I saw, I think coming from someone from Ukraine, which is that if Russia lays down their arms, there is no war. If Ukraine lays down their arms, there is no Ukraine.
Yeah, more or less. Of course, Putin's over here saying it's like, oh yeah, if they don't fight, if they surrender, it'll be peaceful. But no one believes him.
He wants to get back to the USSR.
Yeah, he wants to. I mean, if we're gonna go deeper, a level deeper.
Well, if we're gonna get back to like music here.
Yeah. The thing, yes, Russia believes that the Ukrainian land is their right. They believe that there is a historical right to the region to have it under one umbrella again, and they're fighting to prove that. Again, more of a can of worms than we need to go into. However, it does have effects on the world as a whole when it comes to music and sports and events. Mm-hmm. And so, we'll talk about the music side of this.
Yes, because the European Broadcasting Union, the people who organized the Eurovision Song Contest, have officially barred Russia from participating this year following the country's invasion of Ukraine.
Yes.
In a statement from the European Broadcasting Union, they said, quote, "The EBU has announced that no Russian act will participate in this year's Eurovision Song Contest. The executive board of the EBU made the decision following a recommendation earlier today by the Eurovision Song Contest governing body, the reference group, based on the rules of the event and the values of the EBU. The reference group recommendation was also supported by the EBU's television committee. The decision reflects concern that, in light of unprecedented crisis in Ukraine, the inclusion of a Russian entry in this year's contest would bring the competition into disrepute."
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of the conversation that's happening a lot of places, most recently in sports as well, where it's like, people are just like, if they're going to do this, we should not recognize them in any of these events. It makes sense.
Like, the Olympics have been doing it for a while now with the ROC.
For other reasons. But included their human rights record. And so, we're not done with the Olympics. We'll get there. Yeah, we'll get there too. But it's just like, it's just at this point, it's just keep them out of any possible thing. Part of like worldwide sanctions against them, which is what countries are trying to do right now, is basically cut off any like source of money, of trade, of economic value for them in the world, and hopefully that will lower their value at home and will keep them from doing an endless, like having endless combat. Like if you keep taking things away from them, eventually they will have to stop. It's just a matter of time. Now, how fast that happens, whether it's fast enough to defend Ukraine, who knows? We can only hope. So yeah, any cultural fight that we can take to them also helps. It helps like the world's vision of them. So yeah, we'll see.
Yep. But on other music related news,
yeah,
Daft Punk,
recently
retired Daft Punk, is still going forward with a celebration of their 25th anniversary debut album, Homework, which comes with the surprise release of Homework Digital Deluxe. Almost got that backwards. The physical box set arrives in April. It was previewed with an unreleased, exclusive, and time-limited piece of content showing on 2/2/222 at 2:22, aka Tuesday.
Yeah, it was quite a Tuesday.
Yes. Which will end up being a one-off live stream of the Twitch of the Mayan 97 concert that they performed back in 97.
Makes sense.
Yep. The concert was filmed at the Mayan Theater in Los Angeles on December 17th, 1997, during the Dafton Direct Tour, which is the duo's first concert tour. And the news substantially comes exactly 1 year after they announced their retirement, their split.
Yeah, I thought this was a cute way to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the first record.
It's a good way of making me feel old after being around for over 25 years.
Yeah, and it's a good way to kind of remind you, even though they retired, like their music is lasting. It has a big legacy. They've left a huge impact on electronic music in their wake. And it's cool to see them come back every once in a while and be like, hey, we're still here. We're still here putting out like retrospective packages. Like,
yeah, we're not putting out new music. We may eventually, but we're not doing it now. But hey, we still have a whole catalog that we can point you to and say, hey, remember all this stuff?
And I think more bands should do fun streams of their old concert footage. I think that's a really fun event to have for your fans.
I mean, especially if some of this stuff isn't widely available on other platforms.
Yeah, if you never like sold a DVD of it or something, then it's a good way for fans to see that footage maybe for the first time.
Yep. Also, in a third related news, speaking of seeing things for the first time, if you want to listen to Donda 2 for the first time,
I do not.
Then you have to obey Kanye's rules.
Yeah, you have to buy his STEM stream thing for like $200 and something to even hear it. So needless to say, we will not be talking about Donda 2 anytime soon.
No, but you did end up listening to an album.
I did. We go from Daft Punk to pop punk, which is how I wanted to do this segue. Hey, remember Avril Lavigne?
Yeah, married to track Kroger.
Well, not for 7 years, apparently.
Oh, has it been that long?
I did confirm that they broke up 7 years ago.
Wow,
anyway,
it has been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's also been a while since she's put out music. So she had her big breakthrough.
It's been a while.
Yeah, no. I don't believe she dated anyone from Stained.
No.
Thank God. So yeah, of course she had her big breakthrough in the early 2000s with songs like Complicated. And Skater Boy. Girlfriend was later, so she had a little bit of a comeback in the early 2010s, but then kind of has been quiet ever since. But she's riding on the newfound popularity of pop punk, which has had a rebound in the last couple of years, thanks to Olivia Rodrigo, but most notably Machine Gun Kelly, who has made a name out of bringing it back to the mainstream. And sure enough, here comes Avril Lavigne teaming up with a lot of people who are in the modern pop punk scene, including Machine Gun Kelly and Mark Hoppus, who shows up on this record as well.
Mark Hoppus?
That's Mark Hoppus, and it's a Mark Hoppus ass song that he sings Mark Hoppus ass lyrics in. And yeah, so it's called Love Sucks, and it's kind of a comeback album of sorts for her. And she leans way into the pop punk here, way more than even she did when she debuted. Because if anybody remembers, like, it's easy to remember, oh yeah, she was the pop punk princess kind of like artist. No, if you go back to that first record, Let Go is more of a pop record than people give it credit for. Skater Boy is more of a pop song, and Complicated is barely punk at all.
Mhm.
Now, however, she's completely rewriting that. She's like, no, this is the genre I operate in. Every single song on this record goes hard into that early 2000s ass pop punk sound. If you like Blink-182, if you like early Paramore, if you like that kind of like All Time Low, like that kind of sound, you will love this thing. It's very throwback.
Now, question: is it throwback in a good way or throwback in a time capsule way?
So that's the thing. What my overall feeling about this is, it's a lot of fun, but is it good? I'm not sure. And that's kind of where I came out on this thing. I think if you like Machine Gun Kelly and what he's been doing lately, you probably will love this because it's very much in the same vein. I'm not really a fan of him and what he's been doing. So
On or off the stage?
Yeah, all of the above.
All of it? Okay.
And so yeah, that's going to be your test basically. If that's the kind of sound you want to hear right now, you'll probably have a lot of fun here. That saying, it's entertaining enough and it's cool to see Avril back on her bullshit that it's enough of a I would give it a try. So yeah, it's an interesting artifact of the times. It's an interesting like example of like, this is where music is right now, where you can make an album like this. You couldn't make an album like this in any other time besides like 2001 now. So
20 years later?
Yeah, 20 years later. Everything
is it the 20-year cycle where everything eventually comes back around after 20 years?
We're on the 20-year cycle right now, and Avril is riding the wave. So you know what? Good for her is kind of how
I believe it's good for you.
Good for you. Also, confusingly, speaking of Olivia Rodrigo, she also has a song here called Deja Vu. Sounds nothing like Olivia's Deja Vu, but it's just interesting that they both came to that same place. So, yeah.
Well, Deja Vu is easy to rhyme because there's the ooh sound.
It is. So that's
ooh, you too, woo.
So yeah, that's Love Sucks. It exists. It's interesting. It's interesting that it exists. I'm not sure if I love it, but hey, you might have fun with it.
So is this like Olivia Rodrigo's Good For You, and then Paramore's Paramore's recent album that's like, hey, I used to do all that stuff. I could still do that stuff. So let me put out an album.
Not so much, because I feel like with After Paramore is really leaning into like more like 80s, like new wavy synth sounds. Mm-hmm. It's more dance. This is not that.
Okay.
This is more like, there's a song on here called F.U. that sounds like it could have come off of Riot, Paramore's second record.
Right.
So that's kind of some of what the era they're playing around with here, for example. But yeah, I think it's fun. But is it going to be on like any year-end list? Hell no. I think it's fun that she's back in her element making music again.
Well, I will probably give this album a listen to.
Yeah, check it out. I think I'm trying to get Christy to listen to it too, because I think she'd really like it. She loves that kind of pop punk.
But was she in that scene?
She was more on the emo side of the punk spectrum. She really liked bands like the Promise Ring and the Get Up Kids and that kind of side of things. Say Anything. So like, there's enough shared DNA there that I think she'll have fun with it.
Okay.
So yeah. Anyway, let's move on.
Let's move on.
Because I didn't listen to anything else.
Yeah, I didn't listen to anything else.
Slow week for releases.
Yep, I don't think we have anything to listen to. Those new releases are next week.
Yeah, so we'll see.
So let's move on into video game. And we start with new releases coming this upcoming week.
Yes.
Including Guild Wars 2, End of Dragons.
Dragons are over. We did it.
For PC.
We killed them all. No more dragons. It's the end of dragons. We're gone.
That's okay, because now that they're over, they can become Dragon Tales.
Dragon Tales.
All right. We also have Elex 2 for everything but the Switch.
Oh.
Sorry, Switch owners.
Sorry, Switch owners.
We also have Far, Changing Tides for everything. Big release. Going everywhere. Going far across all.
No idea what that is.
No idea what that is. There's also Puzzle Quest 3.
Hell yes, Puzzle Quest 3. I found a headline about this like 2 months ago. I got really excited to myself because I love the Puzzle Quest series, and I think that all the side things that they've tried to make free to play bullshit like Marvel Puzzle Quest are terrible.
Yeah.
So I was excited when I saw they're gonna make a third proper Puzzle Quest game. Well, guess what? This is also free to play. So I'm a little leery about what this thing actually is. So they're trying to make it at least similar to the first two games, except with 3D graphics where like a fight is happening in real time while you're doing the tile matching. I will give this a shot. We'll probably talk about this next week. It comes out on the 1st. So I love Puzzle Quest. I'm crossing my fingers that this doesn't fuck it up. They're calling it 3. It better be good.
Okay. Is this Game Pass or not?
No, it's on just PC and mobile. I believe the Android version will be first, iOS later. I have not announced a date for that. But so Steam / wherever you get your PC games and Android phone.
Okay. There's more games, including Shadow Warrior 3, speaking of threes, for the PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Yeah. Babylon's Fall for the PS4, PS5, and PC. Triangle Strategy for the Switch.
Yeah, finally.
And the next big release, Gran Turismo 7 for the PS4, PS5.
Ignore that. That's it. I don't know why.
Because it's a PlayStation
left over.
Because it's a PlayStation game.
So get out your racing wheels. Gran Turismo's back, baby.
Yep.
I will not be playing this. Gran Turismo's too hard for me.
Gran Turismo is fun car mode if you're really into cars.
Yeah. Any game that makes you go through driver's license training at the beginning in order to play a race is too hard. So no, thank you. But I'm glad that people get their nice looking cars.
Hey, this is also tech demos for what the PS5 can do.
Absolutely. This thing's going to look beautiful on a PS5.
Yep.
All right.
So the reason I say that that's going to be your big release next week is because we just had one of, depending on who you ask for.
Yeah.
If not the, depending on who you ask, also depending on where your message boards are, biggest release of the year.
Oh, absolutely.
We're only in February.
I think this will be probably a lot of people's favorite game this year.
If you've been following video game news, you will have noticed, seen, and probably butted heads against people excitedly claiming that the recent release, by recent I mean like as of yesterday, release of the new Elden Ring game from Software.
Yeah, from.
Yep. Has been getting 10 out of 10 reviews everywhere.
People really love it.
Critics really love it. Let's be fair. It's not people. These are critics.
Well, yeah, but then again, look at the story that we're going to read.
Oh, yes, because Elden Ring has enjoyed a healthy start on Steam, reaching more than 764,000 concurrent players just mere hours after its release, which is, in fact, nearly 6 times more than Dark Souls 3's highest ever concurrent player count. According to SteamDB, just 3 hours after the game was released on Steam, it hit its peak of concurrent players, topping out at 764,835. Given that this was the middle of the night in Europe, and given that it was a Thursday night, it's likely that this figure will be surpassed over the weekend as players have more time to sit down and play this game.
Absolutely.
Just for note, Dark Souls 3's highest ever concurrent player count was at 129,975. So roughly 130,000 at its peak. And Elden Ring has already topped that at 764,000.
Yeah, I mean it's very, very popular on Twitch and on Steam. It's inescapable if you know people who are streaming video games. It's the only thing people are talking about on gaming Twitter right now. And people who are excited about a new game in kind of the Souls-like genre are saying it's one of the best they've ever done. So you have a copy on its way. You
probably
will
arriving today.
Give it a shot by the time we record next week.
Yes.
If you take 5 seconds off of Horizon, you'll at least create a character to play the first area.
It'll take an hour to create a character.
Right. But then beyond that, I don't know how much more you're going to play.
Or I just go create a character, Mr. Default.
Yeah, Mr. Default. But this is not necessarily a Media Boat podcast style game, but we may have some feedback about it. But ultimately, I'm just happy that people like it. I'm happy that people think it's good. Side note, though, there is a controversy about its performance on PC. So a lot of people are having stuttering problems with frame rate. A lot of people are having crashing issues with not being able to start on their computer. Looks like From is working on it and issuing patches going forward. So fingers crossed that people on PCs will have the same experience that people on consoles are having, which seems to be fairly positive across the board.
Right, and that's kind of where some divide I've seen online is where if the game is buggy, why are you giving it 10 out of 10?
That being said, a lot of people are quick to point out that the Dark Souls PC releases also had a very hard time upon their initial releases and were refined over time. So give it maybe some patches, check back in. Ultimately, though, I'm glad that it's what people wanted, an open world take on the Souls-like experience.
Yep. Also, those reviews are not necessarily how good the game is compared to its predecessors against games coming before, coming after, like at all games. It's just a scale of how much of a recommendation is this reviewer giving the game for you to play the game. Yeah. And they're saying that you should at least try. You should definitely put this game on your radar. 10 out of 10s everywhere. That you should give this a shot, even if it's not your style, if it's not your cup of tea. There is something in there that will either gravitate to you or blow you away. Not necessarily like completing the story, but just playing the game.
Yeah, it seems like we'll be hearing a lot about Elden Ring throughout the rest of the year. So don't get tired of it quite yet.
Especially if you're new players to From Software and the Souls kind of style of playing. And those message boards everywhere.
Yeah.
Probably best to play offline. I'll just say that.
Yeah, maybe.
Otherwise, you'll be lost and smacking your head into walls and not getting a bunch of jokes everywhere. Yeah. Everyone's a comedian, apparently.
Good luck on that, is what I have to say.
Yes.
All right, let's move on.
Yes, move on to our second story.
Oh, boy.
All right. So apparently, you can make no one happy anymore.
Well, specifically Square Enix. Nothing makes Square Enix happy. They are picky, picky people.
Because Square Enix has come out in a statement that its sales of Guardians of the Galaxy game, quote, undershot initial expectations, which was reported in a newly published presentation slide following its results briefing held earlier this month. From the company's president, Yosuke Matsuda, and he stated that the game hasn't sold as well as it hoped, even though it's been received well. Quote, despite strong reviews, the game's sales on launch undershot our initial expectations. However, sales initiatives that we kicked off in November 2021 and continued into the new year have resulted in sales growth, and we intend to work to continue to expand sales to make up for the title's slow start, end quote. This is the second time that Square Enix has expressed unhappiness at the initial sales of a Marvel licensed game.
So, yeah.
And I want to point out that people may have been hesitant on the second game because of the first game.
I mean, the tricky thing about a story like this is without actually telling us what those comparative numbers are, all we can do is really speculate. Because one of the things that you might know if you've been tracking the video game industry for as long as I have, goddammit, you don't get raw sales numbers anymore, especially not for the US. The NPD group, which used to report numbers every month, does not do so. And so it's really hard to know now how well games are actually selling unless the company itself decides to tell you. So without giving us numbers, we have no idea how well Guardians of the Galaxy did sell, especially compared to games from around the same release window like Halo Infinite. There's no comparison point, so we actually don't know. So all we have to go off of is what Square says. Square has, however, a history of saying that Western-developed games that they publish don't perform well. This was the case for the Tomb Raider games that were developed under the label in the last few years. Those also routinely got torn to shreds by Square, saying that they did not sell enough. You can look back to the Hitman series back when it was a Square published series as well. They said those also underperformed. The exception in Square's library right now is, of course, the juggernaut that is Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Mhm.
And I think that the success of Remake now has done extra damage
To what
towards what
sales
Western
numbers
games that they publish can sell, because nothing is going to sell as well as something that has Final Fantasy VII on the box. It's just not going to. So whoever is deciding what this magic bar of expectations is, maybe they should rethink their expectations.
The magic bar is because they slapped Marvel on the game.
But that's the thing, is I think what they're finding out is that Marvel is not a magic bullet. The game has to be good enough to warrant that level of success. Not saying the Guardians wasn't good. You loved it. Other people really loved that game. It got reviewed well, like this story says. But it's just not going to get to whatever cloud pie in the sky number that they have in mind. It's just not going to reach it, even with that Marvel name. So Square, I feel like, is the part that's at fault here. They need to realign their expectations.
Well, it's also because they put out Marvel's Avengers,
Yeah,
and people were soured on that. So when they heard that Square Enix was putting out Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, they were very hesitant.
Yeah.
And probably still are hesitant. It's in their backlog of, okay, I'll wait till reviews come out. It reviewed well, cool. But it also launched in the middle of the holiday season,
right.
where if you didn't get it in the holiday season or didn't get it as a present, then it's still in that backlog of eventually I'll get there. But guess what? That backlog is now going to get buried this year, because of the amount of games we're going to see.
I think overall, how I feel about this is that Square, they talk a big game about sales, but it seems like they thankfully don't do a whole lot in response. Like after complaining about the success of the Avengers, they still put this out. Like after complaining about Tomb Raider, they still put 3 of those out. Like, I think they try to tell their investors, like, we're going to make sure this doesn't, like, we get more next time. But really, as for the developers, they seem to take care of them. So I don't know how to feel about their approach. It doesn't seem like they're going to abandon Marvel games right away, but they're sure talking like they might think about it. But we'll see what happens.
We will see. Because Square Enix next big release, I think it's Dragon Quest on the Switch.
Yeah, that's coming up at some point.
Yep. But like I said, it's going to have to compete with games that have come out and will come out.
Yes.
Including Elden Ring, which just came out, which we'll get to probably next week, maybe. But
in the
meantime, you got your hands on a copy of Horizon Forbidden West.
Yes, now we've both had a week and change under our belt of this game, so we can actually talk about a little bit more in depth than we did last time. I am having a blast with this thing.
Concussion really blast or acid blast?
I see what you did there. No, a tear blast.
Yes. I wish I could get tear blast back.
I'm so close.
I still want tear blast again.
I saw a weapon that had tear.
Yes.
And I couldn't afford it or something. I think I needed a part that I didn't have in the store. It was only a blue rarity too. So I was like, do I want this? I already have a blue rarity hunter bow that I like. And anyway,
yes.
We're getting already into the weeds. But yeah, I'm having a really good time with Forbidden West. Jumping straight from the first one to this one was actually a good thing because I'm able to like see what exactly all the differences are. Mm-hmm. And I think there are pros and cons with some of the changes they made. I think overall on the positive side, I love the world design in this. I think it's a little bit better than the first game. I like that it feels like you're really going from zone to zone. They're distinct enough where you're not getting a little muddy.
I think the first one had very sectionals.
Right. I like that. It feels like the part of the story you're in this little circle for a little bit, and you get to kind of luxuriate in there. I like some of the changes they've made to inventory management. I like how they've divided into like sections instead of just giving you everything at once. I like that they've told you straight up which things you can just sell for profit that are worth it. I love that. Like you can mark them as junk and sell them in bulk. So yeah, there's a lot of quality of life changes I really enjoy like that. And I think the combat feels good. I think I like how everything feels. I still, though, have not really felt a need to use like the Valor, any of the special moves at all.
Oh, so what I did was that I upped my survival skill tree. So that way, the second tier for Valor is the armor.
Okay, that's smart.
So I'll put the armor on and not worry about it
I'm putting
at the beginning.
I'm putting all my points into Hunter.
Oh, but
all the way Hunter, all the way.
No, you put it into survival because you can pick up more medicine and carry more.
Yeah, but I'm playing on an easy difficulty, so I'm not.
Oh, so you're not that. Okay,
that's the thing. We have different play styles, which is cool. That means that you have a very flexible game that allows you a lot of different options.
Well, that's what I use the Valor for. Is that well, the first one is that if you're like low on health, you can use it and it'll just instantly give you health and a little bit of nice. Shield.
Yeah.
But then the second one, the second tier of that is like the shield that you had at the end game of Horizon.
Yeah.
Of the first gun. You get that. You get that kind of shield on you. So I use that in front of boss battles. So that way by the time I've either depleted with it or towards the end, the Valor's replenished so I can put another shield back on.
Yeah, no. And the fact that there's so much flexibility there is really cool. You can really tailor your play style to how you want to play this game.
Yep.
I still feel like a badass. I'm still taken down. Although I noticed it seems like the difficulty is a little higher on the easy mode than it was in the first game. But yeah, I'm having a really fun time with it. I think the story is more interesting than I think a lot of the reviews gave it credit. A lot of the reviews were saying compared to the first game, the stakes aren't as high, and that it seems like a lower thing. But once I finished that Death's Door mission and I saw, holy shit, what the hell? Not going to spoil it, but I was like, wait a minute, who is that?
Yes.
I was like, I need to know what the story is going to be. Yes. I need to know what's happening here.
So while Horizon Zero Dawn had a definite ticking clock as you were playing it, this one kind of gives you a months long, it seems like, ticking clock. But ticking clock nonetheless.
Yeah, it seems like the stakes are just different. They're not it's not, I guess, on its face, is it as interesting as what the hell happened here and who am I? No, but you've already told that story. So what story are you going to tell? Mm-hmm. And I like that they've kind of turned the table into pivoted into a more ensemble story.
Yes.
And two, and having it more about well, now that we know this, what the reality of this world is, how can we save it? What if we did? What if we were presented an option where we can reverse this?
So, question. How do you feel about the new mechanic of you get a focus, you get a focus, you get a focus, everyone gets a focus?
Yeah, it does seem weird considering that the first game is built upon you're the only one who can do this shit.
Yes.
But at the same time, I like it because it gives them more options story-wise to have more people involved. Mm-hmm. I like the idea that now she's able to share these revelations with her friends instead of just being isolated with her. And
I know this knowledge. I can see it.
Yeah, and I like that dynamic there. I like that some people you thought were on your side in the first game are now being brought into question. I like the fact that it's, like I said, more of an ensemble story. Mm-hmm. Also, the performance capture and the quality of the facial animation and the dynamic, just like the dynamic look of just you could have the most inane conversation with a random person in the town and it still looks amazing. Everything looks so crisp and
nothing looks static.
Yeah, it's
all dynamic.
Now, do people maybe move a little bit more than they would in real life occasionally?
I mentioned
absolutely.
The hair. I mentioned the hair.
Yeah, you mentioned the hair, and I do think that people don't pace back and forth as much as that they do in this game in real life. But that's being said,
I don't know. It's kind of paced a lot.
Maybe. But it's really impressive, honestly, the work that they've done to the technical aspects of this game. It just looks amazing. I've gone back and forth about resolution and performance. I think I'm sticking to performance.
Okay.
Because I really the thing that I was worried about happening to me that I talked about last week about going from playing in 60 the first game and then going to something in 30 absolutely is true.
Yep.
The camera turning, it was just too distracting for me. And so I'm sticking to performance for the 60 for the most part. And it still looks great. Still looks great on my TV. Just a lot of pixel density. And just everything just looks super beautiful. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm having a good time with it. I definitely want to see where the story goes.
It goes some places.
Because, I feel like I'm probably at the halfway point.
Oh, no.
No? Okay, great.
I feel like you just hit chapter 1.
Really?
I'm sorry, act 1.
I feel like I finished act 1 once I definitely felt an act 1 moment. When there's when you finally break into when you break into that battle and you first get into the West.
Yes.
That's what I felt like this is the end of Act 1. You are on your adventure. Now I feel like I'm starting to figure out, okay, what do I have to do? What is my biggest goals? Yeah.
See, the fact that you didn't complete the mission that you're on right now,
Yeah.
would have told you what your next big goal is.
Oh,
I would have
yeah.
felt like,
Again,
okay, this is act.
when you told me the next thing, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Because it was hinted at that you have to go gather all that shit
Yes.
in order for this to work. So I knew I was going to eventually. But the way they're doing it is really cool, and I'm liking a lot of the characters. Also, I like just being an asshole. I like making Aloy just say the meanest thing possible to everybody. I am making everybody pissed off at me. I made Varl pissed off at me at the beginning of the game. I made the dude with the mohawk hair mad at me.
Erland.
I click that fist every time I get the option to. I make everybody pissed at Aloy. Aloy is business first in the way that I'm playing her, and I love it. So yeah, no, I'm having a really good time with this game, and I'm doing every single thing. I am doing everything. I am not mainlining the story at all. I am doing every single little bit that I can. It's driving me crazy because that stupid Hunting Grounds plain song aren't open yet, and I can't check that off my list.
So I've been mainlining the story.
Yeah.
Up until I unlock all of the necessary tools.
Oh, right. Okay.
So opens certain stuff up where it says, "Oh, I need a tool." Like every time she comes across something, like, "Oh, I need a tool to access this. I'll figure this one out later."
Yeah, there is a little bit of Metroidvania happening where they do make you wait for some stuff.
So what I did was I mainlined the story to get those specific tools.
Yeah.
So now that I'm there, I can go back and start sweeping through the game.
That being said, I've seen a lot of people in reviews and in feedback about the game saying like at least mainline up until that Death's Door quest. A lot of people are saying at least get there to open up the world.
Well, because the Death's Door is the gliding.
Yeah, and I was like, I get that argument, but I actually feel differently. I feel like the things you learn about the world from the player characters, from non-player characters, and the side missions ahead of time actually really helped me understand the story in a way that I would.
It does flesh it out a lot more.
Yeah, it fleshed it out a lot more because I went into that whole thing in the Forbidden West already knowing a lot about the tribes. And so I was like, oh, cool, I know exactly what's happening here. I didn't feel as lost as maybe I would have if I didn't do any of that side stuff. It's making the world a little bit more in depth and feel complete in a way that maybe it wouldn't have. But that being said, it means you're going to be doing a lot of back and forth. And if you don't want to do that early game, I understand that.
Horizon even did that though, made you go back and
Absolutely.
forth. The first one made you do that.
First one, yeah. And so, yeah, overall, I'm really having a good time. I don't necessarily agree with a lot of what the critics said, which is rare for me. Usually I'm pretty much on the side of these reviews. I understand how somebody would be burned out by this kind of gameplay, but I'm not one of them. This is the perfect game for where I'm at right now. It's comfort food. It feels like just a giant bowl of macaroni and cheese that I can dig into every afternoon, and I love it.
It's funny you say that because these past 2 weeks have seen the release of 2 different styles of an open world game with Horizon Forbidden West and with Elden Ring. 2 completely styles and different takes on the same concept of an open world sandbox.
I think you're going to see what happened with the first game in Breath of the Wild happen again here, where people are so overwhelmed with love for Elden Ring that they will shelve Forbidden West. And I think by the end of the year, you're going to have a lot of conversations that went exactly like they did in 2017, which is, I would have played this if this other game hadn't come out a week later. And I think that it's going to get ignored. And I think that's kind of doing the game a disservice because Guerrilla did a lot of great work on this thing. But hey, it's also not going to be everybody's cup of tea. But I'm really having a good time with it.
I'm also having a good time with it.
Yeah, has your feelings about it evolved a little bit since last week, or more to say about it?
So I've gone through some of the underwater stuff. I got the underwater breathing apparatus. So
okay.
That was one of the first thing I wanted to mainline because I saw like the ocean, the kind of puzzles before. I was like, I need to get at least that. That seems like a crucial part.
Could be cool, yeah.
So I mainlined that first. And the section in that, very tutorially, and I get it, but also it seemed very compact and not open world as say I think I'm going to get to because I haven't actually gone to the West Coast yet. And San Francisco, not spoiler, it's in the trailer.
Yeah. You know you're going to the West.
So because I haven't gotten there yet and to use the underwater apparatus fully, it feels like, oh, did I really need to do this? But at the same time, yes, I needed to do that. But I don't know if I need to do that early.
Yeah.
But it's also something that's like Now I can go back and actually use it wherever I want. But then also, like, because I'm kind of mainlining stuff, there was a section of a tall neck where I spent at least half an hour trying to figure out how to climb this damn
some
thing.
people on a message board complaining about that specific tall neck and not knowing what to do.
Because I tried pretty much everything I could. And then it was like, okay, I need to like see what the hell I'm supposed to do here. And I was like, oh, I'm supposed to come back here later.
Yeah.
Why the hell is
I
this
saw,
here?
I was happy. I was like lucky enough to have seen an exact hint. It was basically like, don't worry about it when you first see it. Wait till you get to this specific side mission.
Yes.
Then you can do it. And I was like, oh, okay.
It's like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that we could do that later. But spoiler now?
I mean, that's the thing is like this game is never really forcing you into a tall neck. It's like it's pretty open regardless. You can find out your own shit. You don't necessarily need to immediately get up there and see all your options.
No, but I like the ability to get up there and see all my options.
Because your completionist tendencies.
Yes. Well, because like I came across a different tall neck later in the game, and I spent about a good 10, 15, 20 minutes trying to like stealth around the initial enemies that were there, and also trying to figure out how to climb up to the tall neck. Like, okay, do I go this way to go this way? If I do this real quick and like shoot this down, can I climb up here real quick and get up and over and past all the other robot enemies that are here so I can get to the tall neck? It's a fun puzzle. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But it did like, because it was like a stop along the way where I actually wanted to go. It was like, I need to finish this before I can continue because I don't want to come back to it.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the things about these open world games is you kind of do make your own plan. Like a lot of it is making your own fun, and that can be potentially frustrating. I mean, if the Elder Scrolls games have taught us anything, Skyrim specifically, you can get hung up on something and spend hours on something that doesn't matter just because you think you need to do it. When the game is like saying, you have so many other things you can do. Why are you doing this? And you're like, because I need to for me.
Yes. I get frustrated with that easily.
Yes. So, yeah. I think, it makes me sad that a lot of people are ignoring it or dismissing it for being another one of those. Honestly, I think what secretly these games are, the first one and this one, they figured out how to make a good Assassin's Creed game. That's what it feels like, because I feel like I had some fun with Odyssey and Origins, but ultimately this is that, but better. This is that formula perfected for me, and I think that it's kind of disappointing to me that people are just being very quick to be like, oh, it's another one of those. I'm burnt out. No thanks. When there's a lot of good work that they've done here.
There's a lot of stuff to do. There's a lot of stuff to run into.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why I keep trying to open stuff up is because, once I have everything opened up, I can just zoom, and feel like I'm completing point after point after point after point after point and feel like the badass that I am.
Yes. And if we learn anything from this game, Aloy is a badass.
Yes.
All right. Let's move on.
Yeah, we'll talk about more about Horizon Forbidden West either when we complete the game or during our end of the year wrap up, because pretty sure this will end up somewhere in the top 5.
We might continue talking about it. So we'll see.
All right.
Let's move on then into the second half of the show where we start with television. And we always start the television section with the Sports Corner. First up in the Sports Corner, we take it to basketball, which had the All-Star game.
Yep, I forgot to mention this last week, but that was the All-Star game.
Yeah, Team LeBron beat Team Durant 163-160.
LeBron hit the game-winning 3, which was more significant because the All-Star game was in Cleveland.
Yeah.
But also because it was in Cleveland, I completely forgot that it was in Cleveland.
There you go. Turns out.
And then the other note of it was the skills competition and dunk contest, which if you were paying attention to Twitter and sports Twitter, oh my God, the pain, the agony, the utter defeat of why have this contest if everyone's not going to, one, either like take it serious and ball out, or two, just kind of like half-ass showboat it and not, put heart and soul into it. Because like during the dunk contest, they were just missing dunk after dunk after dunk. You're like, do you practice these dunks at all? And just come out here and winging it. It just felt very haphazardly put together, kind of like were the worst dunk contests in like recent memory.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a highlight. It's supposed to be spectacular. It's supposed to be a spectacle. It's supposed to be exciting.
Well,
the dunk.
Yeah, dunks. There's the thing about basketball.
Yeah, I don't know.
But meanwhile, in the NBA, Steph Curry won MVP after breaking Paul George's record for most threes in a single All-Star game.
So congratulations to Steph Curry for winning the Kobe Bryant MVP award.
Yeah, congratulations. We move on to NASCAR, where Austin Cindric won Daytona in the NASCAR season opener.
Yeah, he did.
This is a good thing. This is happy. This is a happy moment.
Oh, so Austin Cindric is the new rookie, full-time,
Cool.
driving for NASCAR. Previously, he was in the Xfinity races. I kind of liked him in the Xfinity races. He always did good there.
Okay.
He eventually come up and down between NASCAR, but now he's full-time in the full NASCAR.
Cool.
And I've been needing a driver, so what better way than to start with a rookie?
And
I called him, like, I want him, like, before the race started, and he ended up winning. So
Great.
Austin Cindric's my guy now.
There you go.
Or as I refer to him as Cinderquill.
That's good. I like Cinderquill. We move on to college basketball.
Last note of NASCAR, I have to point this out.
Okay.
This upcoming Sunday is the fastest Sunday.
Oh, the fastest Sunday.
Yes, NASCAR is the fastest Sunday. As NASCAR returns to California and Fontana as the fastest Sunday of the year. NASCAR. Yeah, so Daytona is always the start of NASCAR. NASCAR season is officially underway. We will point out when the Roval happens.
Roval.
But other than that, you won't hear us talk about a whole lot of NASCAR unless something significant happens.
Well, we'll see. Meantime, as you mentioned at the top of the show, March is on the precipice, and that means March Madness will begin March 15th with Selection Sunday just 3 weeks away.
Yep. Get those brackets ready.
Yeah. Who do you think going into this? Who do you think looks good?
Gonzaga.
Gonzaga
is the easy favorite right now. They're expected to be the number 1 seed.
Mm-hmm.
UCLA's doing okay. I think Kentucky's also doing pretty good as well.
Yeah.
Right now, ESPN is showing a lot, and I mean a lot, of college basketball to get people prepared for March Madness.
Cool.
Every Saturday now is filled with college basketball across the country. We will be having NCAA tournaments this upcoming weekend, March 4th, as well as the following weekend as well, leading up to that Selection Sunday on March 15th.
Cool.
Which will then begin the games on the 18th, I believe.
Okay. Good to know. So look forward to that.
College basketball.
Yes, college basketball. Meanwhile, if you were paying attention last week, we saw the Olympics, the Winter Olympics wrap up in Beijing. The final Olympic medal count includes Norway at number 1 with 37 total with 16 gold. Germany following that at number 2, 27 total with 12 golds. Number 3, China, the home country, winning 15 total medals with 9 golds. And you good old USA at number 4 with 25 medals total with 8 gold medals. Sweden after that with 18 and 8 respectively. And if you're already ready for more Olympic action, so the next Olympics will be the Paris Summer Games in 2024. And the Winter Games in 2026 will be in Milano Cortina. There you go.
Yep. Depending on what chart you looked at, the USA was either 3rd or 4th.
Yeah.
Because of the overall count or the gold medal count. Either way, congratulations to Norway for pretty much dominating here.
Yeah. Good job. I mean, they traditionally do in the Winter Olympics, so
Yep.
It was not super surprising. All right. Anything else in sports before we move to our big first sports story, which is also sports?
I mean, the first story is sports, but it's also a follow-up
to
something that we've been tracking for years now.
Okay, but real quick, we should mention just in passing, even though we said last week, hopefully we'd have an answer for everybody about baseball.
Yeah.
We still don't. Talks are still active. They're really going to go cut it at the absolute last second. So we'll hopefully have an answer for you next week about scheduling for games.
All right. So timeline. We are currently recording this on February the 26th.
Yeah, Saturday the 26th.
They have MLB and MLBPA have up until Monday, February 28th, to officially mark a deal in order to not miss regular season games. We've already missed spring training games.
Yes.
That's already been discounted. We've already accounted for that. If there's no deal made essentially by the 1st of March, we are looking at missing, at a minimum, some regular season games for the season.
So if a deal's made, I believe the season will still start at its expected date on March 31st, right?
Correct.
And if it doesn't, then it will be delayed.
Correct.
So watch this space. We will be back next week to hopefully talk about a deal. If not, well, I might have to look up to see if I can watch some college baseball.
You mean deal
or
no deal?
Yeah, when I realized it was a week 2 of college baseball already, I was like, how do I watch some college baseball? I literally had that thought. I'm like, do they televise Fullerton games? I definitely had that thought where I was like, oh my God, is this a rabbit hole I'm going to get into?
Yeah, they do televise it. They do stream them as well.
Shit.
I know because I was a part of them.
I might do this. I might do that. Anyway, so please, MLB, rescue me from the dangerous rabbit hole I could go down. Please.
If you are, speaking of that, if you are looking to watch a lot of college sports, you can subscribe to not being paid podcast here, but ESPN Plus allows you to watch a lot of college games.
I will look this up. I will do some research and see.
I know this because my Bill was recently a commentator.
Yes.
For college volleyball.
Uh-huh.
And we watched him commentate via ESPN Plus.
Nice.
Because it wasn't showing anywhere. So it was a streaming event.
Nice.
But while we were scrolling through it, we saw a lot of other college events that they too put on, including like water polo, soccer, baseball, the SEC channels and stuff. So they do put a lot of different sports on ESPN Plus streaming.
Okay. All right. Good to know. I will do some research. Report back.
The other way you can do that is to get cable and get like the Pac-12.
Oh, the college channels.
College channels.
Because I right now I went down to the base package for my cable to then put it back up when baseball season starts again. So I might do it early if maybe that's the case.
Cable. I think you meant like YouTube or Hulu.
So it's cable but not cable. The DirecTV stream.
The DirecTV stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Because it's cable enough where the Sinclair still plays game with it,
right?
Which is why I get Valley Sports. But yeah, I don't know.
I thought you were doing that.
Last. We'll see. All right, let's move on.
I thought you were doing. You keep moving around.
I'm settled on this because it's the only place I can watch the Angels. So hopefully,
or not watch the Angels.
Yes, hopefully that's still the case. We'll see. All right. Let's move into our first story.
Lastly, in sports news, personal sports news, the Kings beat the Ducks last night.
Yeah, who cares?
I care. All right, let's move on.
Anyways, our first story is also a sports story, as I mentioned. U.S. soccer, specifically the women's.
Yes, U.S. soccer, the clubs, not the clubs, but MLS, starts officially today.
Yes.
As we are recording this, 26th. You can watch those games on ESPN. But we are specifically talking about this story with the national team.
Yes, the national team. So, U.S. Soccer offered up back pay and made a pledge to equal compensation rates for its men's and women's teams going forward. Of course, this follows years of controversy surrounding the disparate pay between the women's national team and the men's national team, which was made a national story by the players on the women's team.
Yes, this was back in 2019.
Yes. With that statement, the governing body, led by Cindy Parlow-Cone, essentially made an admission, quote, "It was all true. The members of the women's team had been wronged. For years, they had to play more and win bigger to be paid anything close to their male counterparts. They got less pay for better work," end quote. Former U.S. soccer head Carlos Cordeiro justified treating them shabbily in everything from travel accommodations to staffing by letting his lawyers argue that it was, quote, "indisputable science," unquote, vomit, that women's soccer was inferior, that women's players were less skilled, and women's soccer was less demanding. I don't know. If you watch any of their games, I don't think you can see any of that in the actual play. But okay, dude, go off. U.S. Soccer has agreed to pay the U.S. women's national team players a total of $24 million. Of that settlement, $22 million will be distributed to national team players who are part of the class action lawsuit. Another $2 million will go toward charitable efforts and, quote, post-career goals, end quote, with each player allowed to apply to receive up to $50,000 of it. So I'm glad they're getting paid. Obviously, this should never have been the case. and this asshole
It also
talking
shouldn't
about
have taken-
biological difference should be kicked out.
Also, should have taken 3 years to come to the result we all came to
Yes.
3 years ago.
It's embarrassing, is what this is. And I'm glad that they're doing something about it, but way too little too late.
Right, but this is part of the national team stretching out any
Right.
type of lawsuit. Say,
Yeah.
we'll get to it eventually, but we'll get you go through like hoops and hurdles.
Yeah. Jesus.
To get there.
Jesus. It just, you hate to see this shit, but I'm glad that they're finally getting paid. Should they get more? Absolutely.
Yes, but I think the big victory is the statement of
Yeah.
it was all
It
true.
was all true. But the fact that they had to say that is also embarrassing.
Yes.
It's like, yes, you knew it and you still didn't do anything about
Mhm.
it. That sucks. It just sucks.
Yeah.
Anyway. Let's move on.
Anyways, congratulations on winning the lawsuit.
Cool.
It's
something that
it's something, but we need to see it in action going forward.
Absolutely. Let's move on. Speaking of action going forward, unions. We're talking about unions again, specifically Animation Union. Production workers at Rick and Morty and Solar Opposites filed a petition on Tuesday for a union election with the National Labor Relations Board in a bid to join the Animation Guild. Workers announced that they had filed to unionize with TAG, T-H-E, which is IATSE Local 839.
TAG is the Animation Guild.
Yes, that makes sense. On Twitter on Tuesday, which the union confirmed later in the day. According to the union, a, quote, supermajority of workers in the proposed unit asked management for voluntary recognition last week. The Animation Guild asserts in a press release that attorneys representing the show's production companies responded to TAG by stating that the production's parent studios, Adult Swim and 20th Century Fox, were not willing to voluntarily recognize the entire unit as was proposed by the Guild. In a statement about the unionization effort, one Solar Opposites production manager, Callan Zimmerman, said that, quote, the production workers are the heart of the animation industry and have been underappreciated and undercompensated for far too long. And he called for having a seat at the table with our artist colleagues. The news arrives as the Animation Guild remains locked in negotiations with the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, the AMPTP, on a new master agreement. Talks began on the contract on November 29th, and TAG members, often using the hashtag New Deal for Animation, have waged a spirited social media campaigns supporting certain key asks ever since. Members have made public that they are looking to address pay disparities for animation writers and for color designers, and schedule and pay issues for story artists, as well as end unit rate pay for timing directors in this rounds of talks. So, a lot of movement happening in the unionization movements and animation. We, of course, hope that all of this comes to pass because they all deserve more money. They all deserve more rights.
Yep. A couple months ago, we saw the unionization for a different 20th Century Fox studio, the ones that were part of Seth MacFarlane and Family Guy and Cleveland Show and American Dad and all those guys.
Yes. And
now we see a different type of, or not the same kind of unionization, but a different studio for Rick and Morty and Solar Opposites. Justin Roiland.
Right. His
producing stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's about time. I'm glad that there's a lot of movement here, a lot of companies and workers, animators, producers, writers that are finally realizing, like, we have this power. We need to wield it. We need to, like, really prove that we're worth it and make a change in the industry. And I think it looks like it's working so far. As long as they keep pushing, I think that there will be some changes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good to know. Good to see.
This also comes with, like, the success of the shows that they are working on, that they feel like they need to be part of those compensation talks.
Oh, yeah.
That they are, as mentioned, the heart of these animated shows.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that they definitely deserve what they're asking for.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's it for news in the television sphere. Let's talk about some thoughts about some stuff we watched.
You watched a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I'll go through what I watched really quickly because I didn't watch a whole lot of any of these. I watched one episode per, in fact.
Oh, okay. So pilots.
So first up, we talked about last week our catch-up list of shows to watch. I was able to watch one of these, the Cuphead Show on Netflix. So, of course, this is based on the video game of the same name. And if you've played or seen any footage of the video game, you know exactly what to expect. The video game plays around in the realm of classic cartoons, specifically like the 30s kind of style of gloved characters with noodly arms doing fun things.
Constant motions.
Yeah. So Cuphead is that. The Cuphead show is very much a show in that vein, and it's very much the style of the video game. It's fine, is what I would say about the first episode. It had a couple of moments where I was like, yeah, it's cute. Nothing outright funny. It's pretty kid friendly. And yeah, it just was okay. It was just like a right down the middle of the road for me experience. And I think that kids who like the look of that Cuphead game and want to see more of it are going to be happy with this. I think that it's exactly what they wanted to make it. So for accomplishing their goal that they set out to do, it does a great job. As for something I want to watch more of, no, it's not that. But hey, it's not for me. Also, there's a conversation to be had about some of the baggage that Cuphead already has as a style. The thing about leaning way into the style of the cartoons of that age is that means you can kind of the baggage of where that style comes from. Do any research and reading about the borrowing of that animation at the time was doing from minstrelsy, and maybe get into kind of the racist imagery that has like DNA in animation of that era, and you can get why a lot of people have called out some of the Cuphead stuff. That being said, if you put that on the back burner, there's some fun to be had here with your kids, I guess. It's fine.
Is it more adult oriented?
No. It is a TVY7 show. They know that this is a kids thing, and they're not expanding beyond it. It's very tame.
Even though like the Cuphead game kind of delved into some adult themed imagery.
I mean, not a whole lot. I mean, there is a lot of talk about getting your soul back from the devil, and the first episode directly addresses this. Mm-hmm. It doesn't shy away from that, but it's like they never say hell. The devil is cute looking. Okay. It's like they don't go that far with the concept. It's very much kid friendly.
All right.
So your kids can watch this. What your kids absolutely cannot watch, though, is Smiling Friends, which is the new Adult Swim show that is now fully available in its first season on HBO Max. I had heard from some animation people I follow that that this was a new Adult Swim show that really leans into what Adult Swim shows used to be pre Rick and Morty. It is very much that. So remember when Adult Swim was just full of weird ass cartoons that were just there for shock value?
Like Aqua Teen Hunger Force and Squidbillies?
Absolutely like those two. Well, it's one of those. It's a modern version of a classic Adult Swim show. It is just 100% bizarre, gross out shit. Just weird, ugly looking characters doing ugly things. And yeah, if you like that, if you are nostalgic for like the mid 2000s era of Adult Swim and you wish that cartoons were like that again, Smiling Friends is that. They made 8 of those. So if you want to watch that, it's there. Did I want to watch more of it after episode 1? Absolutely not. But I kind of knew that going in, it wasn't going to be something I liked because I already knew what it was. So, but if that sounds appealing to you, Smiling Friends is a quality version of that. So go check that out. It's on HBO Max now, first full season. And then with Christy, I watched The Gilded Age, also on HBO Max. This comes from some of the creatives behind Downton Abbey. It is also a period piece. It takes place in The Gilded Age, the late 1800s.
Okay, so I'm confusing this in my head with The Great on Hulu.
It's different from The Great. This is further in time. This is the late 1800s, specifically the 1880s, I believe. And honestly, it's like Gossip Girl, but if it was a period piece in the 1800s. And if you scale up the ages a little. Like, it's very much like...
So how's that different from Bridgerton?
It's different for Bridgerton because it's not in the same era, 1. Okay. And 2, because it's a little bit more like, little less sex and a little bit more like class relations. Okay. Very much like it's constantly rich people talking about what part of New York is the proper place to live. And oh, this person's from Brooklyn and they're like, they just moved here and we look down our nose at them because they're because they're not from the money that we are.
Everyone knows that West Egg is the best egg to live in.
It's my favorite egg.
Yes.
And then there's, they do the first episode specifically does kind of start talking about race relations too. You have a Black woman who is invited into the house and they're super friendly to her face. And then, of course, when they're by themselves, they're talking about like, oh, she's just here to take our jobs, et cetera, et cetera. So it's very much of the time period that they're discussing. It's very PBS-y, except they do kind of take advantage of streaming by doing things you couldn't do on PBS. Mm-hmm. It's fine if you like period piece dramas, but it's not for me. I'm gonna let Christy take the wheel from there on for the rest of the season. But it's there if that sounds cool to you. If you like reading like novels from set in that era and stuff, it's very much in that style.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what I watched, and I watched more. I'm caught up on After Party, and that's still amazing.
Can we talk about the latest episode?
Oh my god, can we talk? So you watched the high school episode?
Yes,
and then you watched the animated episode.
Yes, and then I watched the cop one.
Yeah, okay, so you're up to date now.
Yes.
Oh, it just keeps getting better.
The finale's next week.
It just keeps getting better. I don't know how they outdo themselves every week, but they do.
I don't know how.
That high school episode, the whole time I was thinking like, oh my god, Mike is gonna die.
Yes.
Like just this is our high school.
It is our high school.
They
made a show specifically for us.
They nailed the fashion so much as like the girls like layered ass like clothes. I was just like, oh my god, everybody wore this. I was like, one of the t-shirts that a guy was wearing is like, I knew somebody who owned that t-shirt and wore that shirt to school. It's so accurate. It was crazy.
Is it too early to call it?
I mean,
I think we have Ted Lasso season 3 later this year.
So we maybe should hold off. But yeah, it's so good. What they're doing with that show is amazing week after week. I mean, it just, I just don't understand how they're knocking out of the park in the way they are. And I kind of don't want it to end.
Because it's Lord Miller.
Right.
They make content explicitly for us. It feels like.
Feels like sometimes. So yeah, I
feel like there are variants out there.
Yeah. Somehow, but yeah, I'm excited to see how they wrap it up. But I also don't want it to end.
Right,
it's kind of where I'm at with it. But anyways,
also, you saw the preview for next week, though, the finale.
Yes, we'll see what happens.
But
yeah, you also our Disney Plus correspondent watched a new Disney show.
Well, before I get to that, I did try watching the first episode of Severance.
Oh yeah,
on Apple TV Plus after I got done with after I got done with the after party. It was like, oh, Severance. Yeah, I should probably start this.
Right.
I got 5 minutes into the episode before Dr. Slade, what's this? Who's that? What's going on? I have no idea what's going on. Why is this? This is weirding me out. Let's stop watching this. But then again, that's what it is. It's one of those like suspense kind of mysteries. We don't know what's going on yet. I was like, I know as much information as you do at this point.
It's got an interesting concept.
Yeah.
That whole like separation of your work life and your social life thing. I really want to see what they do with it. Also, it's weird that Ben Stiller is involved in this.
Right.
Like, doesn't seem like something he would do. But sure, it's a compelling premise, and I hope they deliver on it.
I don't know, like, we got like 5 minutes into it, and she's already had like more questions than the show's willing to answer at that point.
Sure.
Like, just watch the show.
But anyway, something that could not be any more different than Severance.
No, is a re-release, comeback,
a reboot,
reboot.
A reboot.
It's a reboot, but it's also kind of a sequel.
Sort of.
To The Proud Family from the early 2000s.
Yeah, I remember The Proud Family.
I like that show.
Yeah.
I didn't realize when I was watching it that it was like the first like black family animated show. I was like, oh, I like this show. Like, because as a kid, like you're watching, it's like you don't know history of television, like how hard it is to get something like this produced.
Yeah.
You think, oh, it's just new TV. You have like the cognitive ability to think like, oh, this is like years in the making.
We were young enough. We were just like, okay, this is normal.
Like, this is just new family. Cool.
Yeah.
But I liked The Proud Family growing up. Follows 12-year-old Penny. I don't know why I keep falling into these like middle school kind of shows.
I don't know, because that's what Disney does.
That's what Disney does. That's who they target to.
Yeah, it's their target.
But somehow my weird ass brain is akin to that for some reason.
Fine.
But they brought the show back and they've aged everyone up.
Yes.
Because they're louder and they're prouder. The Proud Family, louder and prouder.
Right.
And they've aged up the main character, Penny, to 14. So she's going through the puberty now.
The puberty.
The puberty.
The puberty, capital P.
And so is everyone else. Kind of also a way to not just age up the characters, give it a fresh new take, but also I feel like so they don't have to hire exact voice alikes.
Sure.
Everyone's voice can change. It's like, hey, like new voices, like it's changing because their bodies are changing. and like the art style is changing.
Sure. Yeah, it's a good excuse.
Yes, good excuse. It's actually a really good excuse. I thought. But first couple episodes are out right now, and if you like the Proud Family and kind of like that family dynamic that it had, or even just do the animation of a family and that kind of style, It's exactly like that. It's one of those. It's actually really good. It takes exactly what you liked of the original Proud Family series, if you liked it, and ups it for modern times. Not just with the art style, but also with the kind of context of gadgets, because they didn't have cell phones back then.
Right.
So now everyone's got a cell phone. It feels like, even though there's a 20-year technology jump in the show, it doesn't feel like there's that big of a jump in the kind of dynamics that the show is based on.
Cool.
Which is good. I like that. It's just the same kind of show for a new kind of generation.
Cool. So it still works.
It still works. They're still talking about kind of the same issues, which I don't know if that's good or bad that they're talking about the same issues 20 years later. But at the same time, they are tackling new issues, especially of new people going to new schools. The talk of being woke and social media, and how big of that kind of impact has on these ever-changing and growing kids, especially those of minorities in a animated setting. It's really good. It tackles these head on. It knows what it's talking about. It also knows who its audience is, and also who its audience isn't, and how to address the topics that isn't for its audience, how to address it for everyone else, and for everyone who is of that audience. Is like, yes, this is what happens. This is exactly how it is. But also like, oh, this is also informative, but also it's very complex. And I like complex. I like complex of the cartoon characters.
Yeah.
But it also keeps it very simple for being an animated show.
All right.
And it's a really good one of those.
Cool. I'm glad it's good.
Yeah. I'll be watching more of this.
Cool.
I think it's weekly episodes, Disney Plus, but I'm having fun with it.
Great.
Yep.
All right. Well, anything else that we need to talk about television before we move on?
Lastly,
college thing wrapped up in Primetime Jeopardy.
Yep, saw that.
I want to mention that real quick.
The guy dominated at the end.
Yeah, it was good.
Yep, that guy was really good. Also, speaking of finales, Love is Blind. Watched that finale last night.
All right.
There were 5 couples that made it to the altar. 4 out of 5, I got correct.
Hey,
which means I
either bet money on that.
It's either I was paying attention for it, or it was like some of the flaws were very obvious, and they're just like trying to like not see through it, or be blind because of love.
Blind.
As the show's name for.
In the name.
Yeah, it's
all right.
It's still fun. There's going to be a reunion show next week, so I guess that's the official wrap up. Well, because they do they shoot them like a year in advance, so it's like here's the year.
We already have.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, let's move on to cancellations and renewals. Another Life has been canceled after a second season for Netflix.
It will not have
another life. Not another life. The Netflix is bringing back The Blacklist. Yes, The Blacklist for a 10th season.
All right, who do I owe money to? Because I swear this thing was canceled after 7 years.
Twice. Peacock's bringing back Love Island for another 2 seasons. So
I guess The Blacklist is revived on Netflix.
Yeah,
so I guess that's what it was.
Continues now.
Love Island used to be CBS show, could be revived on Peacock. Did I get that wrong?
Yes, it was a CBS show that is getting more. Yes,
I think this is Paramount, not Peacock. That's why.
That might be why.
That might be why.
Paramount.
Yeah.
Paramount. Paramount.
Thank you, Google.
Anyway, then Sort of on HBO Max will be also getting a second season. All right, that's it for cancellations and renewals. Just one death to talk about here. Sally Kellerman, age 84, actress. Most famous for her role in MASH, but also in Young and the Restless and Brewster McCloud. Yeah, 84. Long career.
Yep.
We move into the movies section next. We start movies as we always do with the box office numbers. Your number one movie with a $43 million debut, outperforming expectations, is Uncharted, your video game adaptation.
Is that outperforming expectations?
That outperformed expectations. They lowballed Uncharted, thinking that nobody cared.
30?
Yeah. So it outdid a lot of people's expectations. Even on the Thursday, they were talking about pre-ticket numbers were actually higher than they thought.
But it had Tom Holland in it.
Tom Holland's hot right now.
Yes, he's hot.
So I think people
he's so hot right now.
Number 2, Dog with a $15 million debut. Number 3, Spider-Man No Way Home with another $7.1 million. That's at $770.
So that's 2 Tom Holland films in the top 5.
Death on the Nile, number 4 with $6.5 million, adding to a $25
which
million
almost
total.
had Tom Holland starring in it.
And lastly, the Tom Holland list Jackass Forever with $5.1 million, although I'm sure he would have enjoyed being in it. $46 million domestic total for that one. Upcoming this week, it's finally time for the Battinson.
Oh, I can don my cowl now?
You can don the cowl as the Batman. Is finally in theaters after years of talk about it.
Yes. This is specifically Matt Reeves's The Batman.
Matt Reeves is the Batman. Robert Pattinson. So get ready.
Supposedly early talks. The first in a trilogy, if you believe the rumors, which it's Warner Brothers. It's Batman. Of course, they're going to make a trilogy out of this. More.
We move on to movie news next, as we have a story that revisits the Russian invasion of Ukraine, as we talked about earlier.
Do we want to end cap it with that?
No, we can talk about it now.
Okay.
We can end on the fun story. Fun, quote, unquote
story. That's why I put it here, because it's a real palate cleanser.
It is. So, Sean Penn.
Yes, that Sean
Penn is currently on the ground in Ukraine, filming a documentary about Russia's invasion. The Oscar-winning actor appeared at a press briefing Thursday in the Ukraine capital of Kyiv, listening to government officials speak about the crisis. The doc is a Vice Studios production in association with Vice World News and Endeavor Content. Penn last visited Ukraine in November 2021 and started preparing for his documentary by visiting with the country's military. Photos of Penn's November trip were released at the time by the Ukrainian Joint Forces Operation Press Service. Penn has been at the center of many anti-war and humanitarian operations over the years. The 2020 Discovery Plus documentary Citizen Penn recounted the actor's efforts in setting up the nonprofit organization Community Organized Relief Effort, also known as CORE, in response to the Haiti earthquakes of 2010. CORE also deployed teams to help with COVID-19 testing and vaccines across the country. Penn issued a statement that said, quote, President Zelensky and the Ukrainian people have risen as historic symbols of courage and principle. Ukraine is the tip of the spear for the democratic embrace of dreams. That's a sentence. If we allow it to fight alone, our soul as America is lost. So Penn using his celebrity and his connections for some good causes here, informing the public about what's actually happening on the ground. I hope he stays safe, though, because it's a risky thing to do.
I've seen both sides of this kind of argument. One, good for him for being there, for showing like carte blanche what is going on, but also the other side of what are you doing there in a war zone area? Right. There are actual like news people and journalists and photographers who will be there to capture it. Why do you specifically need to be there?
Yeah, I mean, it is. There's a version of this story you can read as rich person doing rich person shit.
Yep.
And you're not wrong if you believe that. So it's a complicated thing, but you know what? If what we need as a world right now is more more showing us what's actually happening, more truth, more facts. And if this helps get facts out to people, then I think that's a universal good ultimately, regardless of what the source was. So we'll see what happens with that. But it's a risky thing to do.
Yes. But as pointed out in the story, Sean Penn, more recently within the past 12, 15 years, has had more humanitarian efforts than he has had acting credits.
That's true. He's kind of not done a whole lot of acting lately.
I think the last big one was Milk.
Yeah.
And that was 2014, I want to say.
Yeah.
If earlier.
Yeah, before that, I think.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Our second story, as you mentioned, the palate cleanser, takes us to our old friend Jerry Bruckheimer, because he loves making movies based on toys.
All right, so what new toy is Jerry Bruckheimer going to produce?
I mean, Transformers are so 1980s. We need something for the kids who grew up in the 2000s.
You mean those kids who are now have kids of their own 20 years later?
Scary. We're talking about tops with blades on them that bump into each other. We're talking about Beyblade.
All right, is this where we let it rip?
We're letting it rip all over the damn place.
Yes.
So, real quick note, I never played with Beyblades. My parents thought they were too, I was going to hurt myself with Beyblades. Also, I was kind of too old for Beyblades by the time they were huge. So, I never played with Beyblades.
My parents never bought us Beyblades, but we made mock Beyblades.
We took
a colander from the kitchen, or sorry, not collar, a walk, because it was round and like you go all around and around it.
Yeah.
We take a marble set that we had,
marbles,
and we fling them in there.
Yeah.
And whichever marble stopped spinning,
so it sounded like
was
you
the winner.
really made your own crossfire.
A little bit.
Yeah. You got caught in it.
Maybe, but we just called them Beyblades instead.
All right. Anyway, Jerry Bruckheimer is producing a live-action movie with Paramount based on the popular toy franchise Beyblade. The pick is in early development, but Paramount will likely be considering franchise potential given the popularity of the toys, which have sold hundreds of millions of units. I don't know if you know that, but they had a little bit of a comeback in the last decade. They're huge with kids now.
There's a recent surge in a new TV series of Beyblade because of that.
I see. Neil Widener, which is a good name, and Gavin James are scripting the project. Both have been developing an adaptation of a comic called Our Man.
Yep.
With Warner Brothers, DC Films, and Chernin Entertainment. The duo have also worked on scripts including Now You See Me 3, which I didn't know was in the works, for Lionsgate, and Michael Crichton novel adaptation Micro. So they're busy right now with a lot of ovens.
Yep.
A lot of burners.
And now they're adding Beyblade to that spinning plate.
So do you think that this has the potential to be the next big Transformers-esque success? No?
I want to say no, because the whole concept behind like the Beyblade animated
are they going to be giant Beyblades? What are they going to do?
Well, so the concept of the Beyblade animated show was that each like top had what's called a bit beast in it.
Okay. Which
is like a digital like holographic beast.
Like a Pokemon.
Essentially.
Or a Digimon.
A Digimon more likely, because you couldn't swap.
Right.
Because you're partnered with it.
Okay.
Or it partnered with you. So it was like the top was partnered with you, and you'd spin it, and the hologram would pop up, and you'd fight not just the hologram, but also on like top on top, Beyblade on Beyblade.
Oh, top on top action.
Yeah, and you could customize.
Sexy.
Yeah, part of it was that you could customize, like you have more defense on your Beyblade, more attack on it.
Okay.
So it was like give and take. Like you could like if it was too heavy, top over, too light, it'd go flying everywhere.
Interesting.
It was a cool animation.
So yeah, so I guess they'll try to pigeonhole a live action story here.
I don't know, like if Jerry Bruckheimer did it with Transformers and spun that off into a franchise.
It worked for Battleship, right?
I mean, we gotta bring that up.
Anyway, let's move on.
That's funny because the article mentioned Pirates of the Caribbean for Jerry Bruckheimer, which you know at this point is a 20-year-old.
Oh my God, it was a long time ago. Long time ago. Now let's move on. Speaking of movies, caught up on some movies.
Oh God. Okay. So here's the part where I ramble on for a good half hour.
Oh boy, we don't have that much time. Let's do some quick hits on these.
All right. So all of these are catch-ups because this is stuff that premiered in theaters for a couple of months now.
Yes.
But I'm just now getting caught up because streaming. And like you mentioned during our year-end wrap-up for movies, that it's pretty much the main way we're watching the movie now is that through streaming.
Yeah, and why not wait just a few more weeks for something to hit streaming at this point?
Yep, including a film that was on my radar because people kept talking about how good it was. Free Guy, starring Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, this is available on HBO Max now.
It's also available on Disney Plus as part of a joint deal.
Aha, I see. So what's up with Free Guy?
So, basic concept is Ryan Reynolds is an NPC character who realizes that he's in a video game after putting on glasses and becoming one of the quote-unquote glasses characters. Glasses people.
Sure.
And I think right there is your jumping off point of if you understand video game terms and knowledge and what's going on, you're going to have a lot of fun with this.
Okay.
If you don't understand any of that stuff, it may just go whizzing right by your head and certain stuff that happens and what they do. But it's kind of a fun show or fun film. It takes the kind of GTA model of open world and says, "Oh, like you don't need to like constantly like kill people and rob banks to level up. You can do good stuff. Be a nice guy. Be a good guy."
Okay.
To level up in the game. But then it does the weird thing of having a B plot and a C plot, of one being a love story in the C plot, and two being about AI and free will.
Sure, yeah.
In the B plot.
Because you can't not tell that story when you talk about a virtual world.
Right.
Yeah.
And especially with an AI NPC character who becomes sentient.
Does it go full Truman Show here? Is that what they're kind of eventually leading to? Or do they kind of not go that far?
They don't go that far.
Okay.
They don't go far in its full Truman Show. They go as far as the same concept of, what was it? Ready Player One.
Okay.
Where its corporation wants to control the world or delete the world. And it's up to like player character to kind of try and stop it.
Got it.
Or in this case, Free Guy, or guy main character to try and stop it.
Okay. Is it fun enough? Like, is it good?
It's weird, kind of, because a lot of stuff that like he pulls out of his inventory, like towards the end, you don't see him ever get it. And even some of the stuff is like shocking, like, oh, he pulled that out, and then you're like, wait, this is a video game. He's in a video game, so he has to play by video game rules, which means that all of this has to be in the video game itself, so it can't be that surprising when he pulls it out.
Yeah.
And yet, here's some very referential stuff outside of what could probably be officially licensed in said video game.
Yeah.
Unless you're something like Fortnite.
Yeah, it's not like this is the metaverse. Like,
right, it wants to, because it pulls out some 20th Century Fox shit.
Sure, why not?
And some Disney shit as well, because they got bought out and say, hey, we can do this now. Right. Can we do this now? It's like, okay. Weird. Like it came right at the end, too. Kind of like it was like a last-minute edit. And I'm sitting there when it happened, I'm like, did you plan for this to happen? But also, this is coming out of like fourth wall breaking here, where now I'm completely taken out of how does all the legal ramifications of this work? Yeah. Are we dealing, like, I thought we were dealing with a GTA rules. Are we now dealing with Fortnite rules, or anything is possible?
Anything is possible, turns out.
But still set in like a GTA kind of city world. So if you ignore that, it's okay. It's a fine, like, action comedy kind of love story, but I had a fun time watching it. Like, if it's on TV, I'll probably put it on for like the 2 minutes.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't want to sit through it again. Right. I think that's pretty much some of my thoughts up on it.
All right. Fair enough.
Let's see here. Something I will sit through again, though.
Okay.
Something I definitely wanted to watch in theaters because it got put off because one of my favorite franchises, The Kingsman.
Yeah, so this is the prequel to the Kingsman series.
Yep, the prequel to the Kingsman series titled The King's Man. And it goes way back to World War I. Woo! I was going to say 2 there, but no, it's 1.
So the late 1910s.
Yep. Starting off with the assassination of the Archduke Ferdinand.
Right.
And it's toes the good line of between actual historical accuracy and kind of comic book accuracy, or inaccuracies, more so. From what I saw online, a lot of people are like pointing to like, "Hey, that's a good like reference to the Kingsman." It's like, no, that's not a reference to it. That's the foundation for it.
Sure.
The reference in the Kingsman comes from the foundation in the King's Man. So this is them making the foundation of the eventual reference.
So I guess the question on that kind of like level is, do you think that this is a necessary story to tell? Do you think that
no.
Is there, is this, are they doing a solo here where it's like, you didn't ask why this was what it is in the other movies, but we're going to tell you anyways?
Pretty much, yeah. Wait, I didn't ask why they're all named after like Knights of the Round Table. I didn't ask like why it's specifically set in England. I didn't ask why they specifically use this tailor. But you're telling me. I think it's fun, and now I know. I think it's a good like backstory if you like more of that universe. But it does do the thing that I kind of do and don't like, which is at the very end, set up for a sequel.
Oh boy, of course they do.
Because of course they do. And guess where a sequel's going to?
The 1920s?
No. The sequel to the Great War.
World War II.
Exactly.
All right. Well, okay. Well, is it fun enough if you're a fan of that franchise?
Oh, yeah. That's all your favorite action scenes. Kind of the same action set pieces.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot better done than what the Golden Circle sequel did.
Sure.
That's what that sequel was called.
Yeah, I think so.
But it's also a World War One movie in its heart.
Sure, yeah.
So how much of a World War One movie do you want to watch? Because I think that's what it is first and foremost, a World War One movie, than it is more of a setup for the Kingsman franchise.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the Kingsman with the masked over a World War One movie.
I see. Okay, so it's not super necessary and not essential, but there's enough in there to have a fun time.
Oh yeah, I had a lot of fun time here. There's also a good mystery underneath it, but if you read the clues, it's there. It's kind of obvious, but also it's very well hidden to where you're not really blown away.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, the twist is like, oh, that's the twist you went with,
right?
So it can be hit and miss.
Okay.
So it is what it is. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Anyways,
then let's shift my attention over to Peacock.
Yes,
because I watched both of these next films on Peacock. First one came out in January, called The 355.
What is this?
This is the female spies teaming up from different agencies to become one agency after they've been wronged and they've been accused of being wronged.
Wrongly accused, you could say.
You could say that. I won't. You can say that. And I will say that I swear I've seen this film before.
Sure.
Not just like in the male version of it, but no.
Yeah.
I swear I've seen this specific film of dealing with women in spy organizations teaming up to take down a bigger organization crime.
Okay.
I swear I've seen this film before, but yet I know I haven't with these specific actors.
Charlie's Angels.
Maybe.
Not
exactly. But it's got that weird feeling like it takes all the usual tropes that you've seen in spy thrillers, in these espionage films, in these kind of like globe-trotting adventures, and it doesn't really do anything new to the formula.
Yeah.
If the new thing is we're just women doing it, that's not really all that new and significant, I think.
Right.
Where's the new twist? Where's the new gimmick? Where's the new gadget? It felt, especially when the thing you're after is this goober thingamabob controls like all electrical grids and internet and everything, and it's like, okay, so it's the God's Eye from the Fast and Furious franchise. Right. So it's the goober from Into the Spider-Verse. So it's this. It's like the monkey's paw or rabbit's foot from the Mission Impossible franchise. It's the same thing over and over. The mythical thing. The mythical gooberness. Sorry, the mythical Maltese Falcon of the can-all be-all of technology that Hollywood likes to play up.
Yeah. The MacGuffin.
Yeah, the MacGuffin. It's just that. With the female spy kind of taped over it. Like, see, it's new concept, but it's not. You're just slapping a new label over it. You didn't change the interior of the car. You didn't change the engine out. You didn't add anything. You just slapped a new coat of paint on it. So I'm disappointed. Yeah. Also, the name, the 355, comes nowhere in the film except at the very end. And you're like, oh, that's why they're called it? But you nowhere hinted at or led up to it anywhere in the previous 2 hours of the film. And you're going to tell me that at the last 5 minutes, this is why it's called the 355? No, that's not what you do here. You call it something else then.
Yeah.
Or you at least talk about this thing constantly throughout the film. So I'm not wondering why the hell you chose this thing.
Yeah.
It's dumb.
So, not great.
No. Not good. Yeah. I think it had the potential to be good. But then I want to say not production hurdles, but producer hurdles said that it needs to be this specific way because this specific way is what makes money. This specific way is what's been proven in the past. Right. So we're going to cookie cutter it this specific way instead of trying to do something new and refreshing.
That's unfortunate.
It is super unfortunate.
Yeah.
It had so much potential. It has so many good actors in it, and yet it went the cookie cutter route, and I blame producers on this. I don't blame the actors.
Right.
I blame the producers on this.
Yes. Creative decisions were made.
Yes.
Speaking of creative decisions were made.
Oh, creative errors were made on my part of watching this film.
Wow, 2 stinkers in a row.
Marry Me.
Oh
The
no.
Valentine's film.
All right, so this is Jennifer Lopez and Owen Wilson.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I said it's exactly.
Yeah.
So Jennifer Lopez, 50, I think.
Yeah,
right.
She's about 50, 51.
Owen Wilson, 50-ish.
Maybe late 40s.
Okay, sure. Is he older or younger than Paul Rudd?
That's a good question. I have no idea.
Because Paul Rudd's 50.
Probably around the same age then.
Okay.
I don't know.
So you're talking about 2 50-year-olds essentially falling in love, more or less.
Sure. You know,
give or take.
As you do.
As you do, give or take. So first off, the start of this film is completely unnecessarily convoluted.
Uh-huh.
Jennifer Lopez and producer boyfriend plan to get married on stage in front of a crowded audience, as well as like live stream to 20 million people around the world.
Uh-huh.
Whatever. Cool. One of their songs that they create is called Marry Me.
Sure.
So what they're going to do, the plot is that they're going to like get married and sing Marry Me in front of everybody and like profess their love for each other.
Okay.
Then the guy like has a may or may not be official affair with the assistant after a TMZ like article catches the fiance kissing the production assistant as they go into an elevator.
Oops.
And it's like, oh, is he cheating? We don't know. And, instead of like talking about it like goddamn adults.
Yes.
Jennifer Lopez decides that she's on stage upon hearing this news, shocked at this news. Like, do I trust this guy? Do I still want to marry him? What's going on? Comes to the realization that I'm going to marry that guy in the audience.
What?
Specifically Owen Wilson, because he is holding a sign that says "Marry Me." The same title of the song that they were going to sing that's currently like supposedly everywhere on the radio. So wouldn't you think like more people would have "Marry Me" signs?
No, just that guy.
No, specifically just Owen Wilson who got dragged to this concert.
Oh, he didn't want to be there.
Didn't want to be there.
Classic.
And was told to hold the sign while his friend went to the bathroom.
Yeah, of course.
So he's just sitting there holding the sign, and she's going on this like kind of like, what is love anymore? Do we even believe in it?
What is romance?
What is romance? I'm going to take a leap of faith, and I'm going to say yes to you because you have a sign that says "Marry Me."
So
you are not specifically asking to marry me.
Yeah.
You just having to hold a sign that says "Marry Me," which is also the hit song that I am currently like topping the charts with. That classic, anyone else in the arena could probably have had.
Classic romantic comedy cliche, right? Like you toss 2 completely different people in to prove a point.
But it's how they're tossed together is the main frustration of the film.
So once you get past that frustrating meet cute, then is the rest of the movie worth it? Like, does it do anything interesting?
No, because the whole point of like that first initial meeting is like, well, okay, is this a publicity stunt? Do they actually like each other?
Right.
It's basically Love is Blind, but reverse. We'll get married, and then we'll figure out if we like each other.
Yeah, that's not a good thing to do. Let us be clear. Don't do that. You want to get to know somebody before you marry.
Let's be clear too that they're like married this whole time.
Right.
They're legally married
because
no one, including the supposed priest and like any documents they had to sign, like said that, hey, I'm just going to marry whoever I want on stage, and then that's legally binding. No, like there's a whole process to actually legally be married. And the whole film, they're like, okay, we are still legally married, but we're going to figure out if we want to stay married or not.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
It's dumb. It's so much frustration with this film. I get what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
I get why they wanted to do it, but I don't know, maybe cast younger people who like want to fling themselves into like love on a whim and not like force Owen Wilson to be there because like he was forced up on stage by the crowd that said go, forced up by his daughter who said go. She pointed to you. Go, say yes. Go marry this pop star of a singer
Right.
who you have never listened to her music of. You have no idea what her lifestyle is. You barely know her. You only know her because her daughter, by name only, speaks about her.
So do you think there's a version of this story that would not have been so frustrating for you? Or do you think just as a concept, it is flawed?
As a concept, it is flawed.
Okay. So it's not necessarily they made a bad movie out of a good idea. You're saying that the idea is trash, thus the movie is trash.
The idea trash.
Okay.
The only way you could possibly spin this into a better story is if it was, one, you age them younger, make them some 20-somethings.
Sure.
You have the guy recently get left at the altar or something, is he ready to throw himself back into love? And then she still, that whole concept of I'm going to choose you, random person out of the crowd to marry.
Yeah.
Is the concept of I am having a struggle of getting over in my movie logic, which I can make some pretty big leaps in movie logic.
Yeah.
I am very excellent in leaping over some gaping plot holes.
But this one
of all the ramifications that go into actually being married, and all the steps it takes to actually be married,
not worth it,
is the big stretch in it.
Fair enough. So not a recommend for Marry Me either, then.
No. But if you like Jennifer Lopez and you like Jennifer Lopez music, she sings a lot in this thing.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing, the reason why this exists.
Oh, it is totally the reason why it exists. Yes.
All right, well, so not whole good things to say about these movies. It seemed like with caveats for each of these. So maybe wait for some other movies to come out.
I want to say good thing I saw this on streaming, because otherwise
don't spend money on it.
I want to spend money on the theater for it.
Fair enough.
But then again, you could have asked, why don't you just turn it off then? Well, I was already invested in it. It's already streaming. It's already there.
It's fine. Okay. Well, good job. You did those, so I didn't have to.
No, I did those. So I watched them, so you don't have to.
Thank you. That's the Media Boat Promise. We will do that for you. It's a service that we perform. Speaking of the Media Boat Promise, our promise is every week we will have a show that includes next week. So thank you for joining us this week. We'll be back next time for more of everything, more thoughts, more news, more, you name it. We'll talk about all the same things again next week. If you want to tune in, we're on YouTube. Our channel is live on Saturday mornings, typically with new episodes, but also recorded in the archives for you. If you want to find that, go to youtube.com, search Media Boat Podcast, and subscribe to our channel. If you want to listen to our audio only version, we're on podcast services such as Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Amazon, iHeartRadio, you name it, we're there. Just search Media Boat Podcast. On social media platforms, Twitter, we're at Media Boat Cast. Facebook, search Media Boat Podcast there. Find our page, like, comment. You can also send us emails if you have any questions, comments, feedback, anything you want to say to us. We might read it online if you send it, so please email us at mediaboatpodcast@gmail.com. That'll do it. Have a good week, everybody, and we'll be back next time.
Yep, we'll be back next time with March, where we get into March Madness. And if you've been a long-time listener of this show, you know that we make our brackets for March Madness. That information will be coming in next week's episode.
So get ready.
So get ready for that. We will get mad. We will get marched. Have a good February, and we will talk to you next week.
See ya.
Okay, bye.
Boy.
All right. Bye, stream.
Bye, stream.